Everyone in the Holt mansion knew one rule: never interrupt Cassian when he's working. The tech billionaire had ignored board members, silenced investors, and walked out of presentations worth millions without looking back. No emergency was big enough to pull him away from his empire. Not even his own daughter. So when his phone buzzed 7 times backstage at the biggest tech summit in Boston, with 1,000 people waiting and cameras already rolling, everybody expected him to silence it. Maribel's name flashed on the screen. The maid who never called, who never broke protocol, who never interrupted anything. Cassian stared at the phone. Stage managers waved frantically. His name echoed through the speakers. The governor's representative waited in the front row. Then he answered. "Sir, please come home now. She'll destroy her. You must come home. Sky is not safe." His phone slipped from his fingers. Without a word, he walked off, away from the spotlight, away from his presentation, away from everything he'd built. Because what Cassian didn't know was that back at his mansion, his new wife Seraphine was packing his 7-year-old daughter's suitcase, preparing to make her disappear forever, and the reason why would expose a conspiracy that killed Sky's biological mother, buried her in a fake grave, and turned an entire adoption agency into a human trafficking ring. Stay with me until the end, because what this billionaire discovers about his perfect wife will make your blood run cold. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Now, let's get started. Cassian Holt stood backstage at the Boston Tech Summit. 1,000 people waited. The governor's representative sat front row. Cameras were live. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it. It buzzed again, and again, and again. He looked down annoyed. Then he saw the name. Maribel, the maid who raised his 7-year-old daughter, Sky, the woman who never called during work, never interrupted, never broke rules. 6 missed calls. A 7th came through. He answered. "Maribel, I'm about to go on stage. Sir, please come home now. She'll destroy her. Sky is not safe." Everything blurred. Stage manager waving, headset crackling, his name being announced. He dropped the phone and walked the opposite direction from the spotlight. "Mr. Holt? What's happening?" He didn't answer. The world could wait. His daughter couldn't. Rain hammered his windshield as he tore out of Boston toward Manchester by the sea. Wipers hacked at the water. He replayed Maribel's words. She'll destroy her. Only one person she could mean. Seraphine. The woman he met at a New York charity gala 9 months ago. Elegant, poised, soft voice that said, "You look like you carry a lot alone." Perfect on paper. Humanitarian work, gentle with Sky on early visits, kneeling to her level, complimenting her braids. Media loved it. Widowed tech billionaire opens his heart again. Little adopted girl gains a mother figure. 3 months after the gala, Seraphine moved into the estate. 4 months later, they married in the backyard with the Atlantic behind them. He thought he was giving Sky a family. Now white lines blurred past and his stomach twisted. What if he brought a predator into his child's home? The Holt estate rose out of the storm like a dark glass ship. Windows normally glowed warm. Tonight they looked dim, watchful. He slammed the car door and ran up the steps. Leo opened before he reached it. Head of security, muscular, composed, trained to stay calm, but his eyes slid away. "Where is she?" "The nursery, East Wing, with Mrs. Holt." Mrs. Holt. The title felt like a stone in his throat. And Maribel? In the hall upstairs. She tried to intervene. Cassian stormed down the corridor, staff pressed against walls, faces pale, eyes dropping as he passed. The house felt ashamed. Halfway down the East Wing, he heard it. A muffled, hiccuping sound. A child trying not to cry. Sky. He walked faster. The nursery door was shut. He didn't knock. Sky stood in the middle of the room in her socks, curls half undone. hands balled into fists. On the bed lay a small pink suitcase, half full. Clothes thrown in without care. Leggings twisted. Shirt inside out. Her favorite stuffed rabbit face down at the bottom like trash. Seraphine knelt by the suitcase, folding a dress. She looked up, startled, then composed her face. "Cassian, you scared me. You're home early." He crossed the room and dropped to his knees in front of Sky. "Hey, look at me, sweetheart. What's happening?" Her eyes flicked to his face, then to Seraphine, then back to his tie. "Daddy," she whispered, voice hoarse. "She said I'm going away." Seraphine gave a small laugh. "She's being dramatic. I told her she's going to a special school, a boarding program. You're so busy. She needs structure. They had one spot left. I didn't want to bother you." Sky's grip tightened on his sleeve. "I don't want to go. I'll be good. I promise." Something hot burned up his spine. This wasn't a misunderstanding. Something was very wrong. "Sir." Maribel's voice came from the hallway. Cassian turned. She stood in the doorway, apron crooked, hair escaping its bun, eyes shining with fear and fury. "May I speak to you?" "Alone." Seraphine's lips pressed thin. "We're in the middle of—" Cassian cut her off. "Sky, sit on the bed. I'm right here. I'm not leaving." He stepped into the hall and pulled the door mostly closed. Maribel seized his arm with trembling hands. "I am sorry, sir, but if I do not tell you now, I will never forgive myself." "Tell me what?" "She has been planning this. Not just today. For weeks. She tells the child you regret adopting her, that you are ashamed, that you are waiting for the right time to send her away." The words hit like ice water. "That's impossible." "Locks her in," Maribel interrupted fiercely, "takes her food away when she cries, hides her drawings, calls them ugly, tells her she is too much, tells her if she says anything, you will send her back where she came from." His pulse roared. Back where she came from. Sky doesn't even know. She knows she was not born here. Children know things, even if we do not tell them with words. Maribel looked up at him, pleading. "Today, when you left for Boston, Mrs. Holt told her this is the day, that the car will take her away and you will not stop it, that she must not cry because no one is coming." Cassian swallowed hard. "The boarding school. What's it called?" Maribel's mouth tightened. "There is no school. I checked the emails, and I found something else." She pulled a small notebook from her apron pocket. "I took this from her room. I should not have. But the child was different. I needed to understand." Cassian opened it. Drawings, dozens, crayon lines wobbling off the page, colors too harsh for a child her age. One picture showed a tall woman with Seraphine's hair standing over a small girl in a tiny rectangle room. No windows, no door. Red scribbles across the little girl's mouth. Another drawing, a suitcase. Tears falling into it. Above it, clumsy letters. "Go away, you ruin everything." Another, their house on the cliff with little black dots drawn in the walls. "Those are ears," Maribel murmured. "She told me once." "The house listens, Mari, but it never talks." The last drawing made his throat close. A woman with wild hair and soft eyes holding a baby close to her chest, standing in front of a car. Above the woman, shaky letters. "Mama?" Cassian stared. Where did she get this image? She never knew her first mother. Not with words, but memory is strange, sir. Sometimes it hides in pictures. He closed the notebook. "You said there is no school. What did you find?" Maribel glanced down the hallway, then lowered her voice. In the shared email account, there was a folder. Hidden, but not enough. I saw messages from someone named Vale. They spoke of phases and separation and erasing evidence. I did not understand everything, but I understood one thing. She met his gaze. Mrs. Holt is not only trying to send Sky away, She is trying to erase her. In his study, the storm pounded against the windows. Cassian sat at his desk, hands tight on the armrests, opening the household email account Seraphine used for contractors and school applications. Everything looked normal at first. Invoices, spa newsletters, charity invites. Then he saw it. A folder labeled Consulting. Maribel stood just inside the door, wringing her apron as he clicked. Emails flooded the screen. All from one sender. V. Vale, private. Subject lines chilled him. Progress report. Target child. Emotional destabilization. Protocol. Next steps, removal. Documentation and witness risk. He opened the most recent one. The message talked about the child's attachment becoming unstable, about her believing she was unwanted, about separation being easier now, about destroying documentation after the handoff. The last line froze him. She is not just a child. She is a witness. His stomach lurched. Witness to what? Attached was a wire transfer confirmation. A large sum wired from one of Seraphine's private accounts. He clicked an older email. The message mentioned their family couldn't survive another exposure. Something about a sister, something about a car being almost a disaster. About being lucky they blamed the tech company. About not risking anyone connecting the child to them. About how she should have been gone years ago. Finish this. The word family snagged on something in his memory. A face in a crowd. A woman screaming at him after a press conference about a self-driving car accident years ago. You stole my sister's future. You killed her with your machines, a name someone had yelled, trying to calm her down. Valeria Vale. His blood ran cold. Seraphine had introduced herself as Seraphine LaRocque. He had never questioned it. Now his eyes dropped to the signature line at the bottom of the email. V. Vale. And in the earliest message, before she changed her address, from Seraphine. Vela. 6 years earlier, the case that almost destroyed his company had been known as the Gloucester crash. A young woman. A faulty early version self-driving module. A nighttime road. A mangled car at the bottom of a ditch. The official story. The AI misread a lane marking and made a fatal steering decision. There had been a baby in that car seat. Initial reports from paramedics were confused. Some said the baby died on impact. Others said the baby was unaccounted for. By the time his lawyers swooped in, the public document said one thing: infant deceased, no remains available. He remembered feeling sick reading that line. But his attorneys assured him the agency had stepped in, everything was handled discreetly, no further liability would touch him. He had been drowning in guilt. Then the adoption offer came. A baby girl, almost 4 months old, paperwork perfectly arranged, agency eager to place her with a high-profile single father willing to provide. He hadn't connected the dots. Now, as he opened an attachment in one of the older emails, his vision blurred. A birth file. The mother's name. Valeria Elise Vale. The infant's original surname. Vale. His hand shook as he scrolled. There was a note from the agency talking about sealing all connections to biological relatives, about declaring the child deceased to prior records for safety and discretion. Safety. Discretion. He suddenly saw those words as what they were. Hiding. Sir? Maribel whispered. Cassian's voice came out rough. Sky is Valeria's baby, and Seraphine is her sister. Maribel sucked in a breath. The storm outside rattled the glass as a horrifying thought slid into place. If Seraphine's family knew Sky was alive, why did the agency tell them the baby died? Why did Seraphine try to get into his home instead of welcoming contact? Why all the talk of erasing, removing, closing loops? This wasn't about bringing Sky home. This was about making sure she never spoke. He walked back down the hallway toward the nursery. He pushed the door open. Sky sat on the edge of her bed, knees pulled to her chest, arms wrapped around her stuffed rabbit. Seraphine stood by the window, phone in hand, suitcase closed. She turned as he entered, expression already arranged in concern. Cassian, you're scaring the child with this dramatic exit. I was just planning a handoff? Her eyes flickered. Excuse me? He stepped fully into the room and shut the door behind him. There is no school, no program, but there is a person named V. Vale. There is a sequence of emails about phases and removal. There is a document with Sky's original surname on it. Vale. For a moment, all pretense dropped. Seraphine's gaze sharpened, like a knife being drawn slowly from a velvet sheath. You went through my emails. You came into my house under a false name. You lied about who you are, about what you want, about what you're doing to a child. She tilted her head, eyes glittering. You killed my sister. Your machines did. You adopted her baby like some PR project. You wanted a neat redemption arc. Don't talk to me about lies. His jaw clenched. I didn't even know Sky was hers until tonight. But you did. And instead of coming to protect her, you used her. I came to finish what you started, Seraphine snapped. You took my blood, I take yours. She walked toward him, bare feet silent on the rug, anger simmering under her elegant shell. Do you know what it's like to bury an empty box? He frowned. What? They told us Valeria and the baby burned. No remains, no body, just, we're sorry for your loss. We had to bury a coffin with nothing inside because there was nothing to put in it. Her voice crackled with something raw. My parents died inside that day. I promised myself that if that company ever faced justice, I would be there to watch. But instead, I saw you on magazine covers with a baby in your arms, talking about second chances. Her lip curled. You stole our blood and then sold it as a story. Cassian swallowed. I didn't know. I should have questioned the agency. You should have refused, she hissed. You should have said, no, I will not build a happy ending on a stolen child. But you didn't. You took her. You erased us. She stepped closer, so close he could see the tiny gold flecks in her eyes. So, yes, I married you to break you, to let you taste what it's like to lose a child. The explanation made sense. Too much sense. But there was something under it. A note that didn't fit. He thought of the phrase in the email. She should have been gone years ago. Gone where? You keep saying I stole her, he said, that your family lost everything. But I read those emails. Whoever you're working with, they're not mourning Sky. They're terrified of her. They're calling her a witness. Seraphine stiffened. You don't know what you're talking about. I know they said she should have been gone years ago. Not home. Not safe. Just gone. That doesn't sound like a grieving family. That sounds like criminals. Her nostrils flared. You think my family are monsters? You built cars that killed people. And your family built an adoption pipeline that sold their babies. He cut in quietly. Did Valeria know? Is that why she tried to run? Something flickered in her eyes. He pressed on. The crash report always bothered me. The angle of the car. The supposed AI error. It didn't quite fit. And now I see an email saying, we were lucky they blamed the tech company. The car was almost a disaster. Almost a disaster for who? He took a step forward. It wasn't my code that killed your sister, was it? It was your family. Someone tampered with that car. And when it got pinned on my company instead, they decided to bury the truth. Including the baby. Seraphine's face went white. Shut up. You thought she died, Cassian said. And when you found out she didn't, you didn't go to the police. You went to the people who lied to you. You helped them finish the job. Her eyes flashed with fury. You don't know anything about what I've done. I know you've been trying to erase the last living piece of evidence of your family's crimes, and I'm done helping you, even by accident. What Seraphine forgot was that this house did more than hold secrets. It listened. In the den, Maribel sat on the couch with Sky, a cartoon playing softly on the TV. The little girl's body leaned against her, but her eyes weren't on the screen. She was drawing. Again. Maribel's phone lay hidden beside her in the cushions, voice recorder app running. She had slipped it on before Cassian went back to the nursery. Upstairs, voices filtered faintly through the floor. In the security room 2 floors down, Noor and Elias stood behind Leo, staring at the monitor showing a live feed from the camera above the nursery door. Audio came through the speakers. They had watched Seraphine's mask fall, heard every word about finishing what you started. Noor folded her arms. This isn't revenge. This is obsession. Leo's face was ashen. I didn't know it was like this. She just asked me to pull adoption files. Accident reports. I thought she wanted proof he stole the child. I didn't know she wanted the girl gone. You knew enough, Noor said coldly. On the couch, Sky pressed the crayon harder against the paper until it almost snapped. In her drawing, 2 women stood by a car. One woman was blocking the door, arms out. The other was reaching for a baby, face twisted. Above them, in shaky letters, she wrote, "You're not taking her." "Maribel," Sky whispered. "Yes, Pequeña?" Sky held up her drawing. "Do you know who this is? The lady who's shouting?" Maribel looked at the 2 stick-figured women. One had messy hair and a soft smile. The other had long, straight hair and a frown. "I know one of them. You told me this one is your mama in heaven." Sky nodded, tapping the messy-haired woman. She said, "You're not taking her." She shouted it. I heard her. I was in a seat. I was crying. There was loud noise and she squeezed her eyes shut. I don't remember the rest. Maribel's heart stopped. Who was she talking to? The one she was shouting at? Sky's fingers trembled as she pointed to the straight-haired woman. This one. Maribel looked at the hair, the dress, the smile drawn as a sharp line. She had seen that shape before, every day. Are you certain? Sky nodded. I remember her voice. I think that's why my tummy hurts when she talks. Pause for just 2 seconds. If this is giving you chills, smash that subscribe button because this story is about to get even darker. And comment "Protect Sky" if you think Cassian should have seen the signs earlier. Your comments help more people find this story. Okay, let's continue. Maribel's hand tightened around the phone. She turned the recording volume up just a notch. Back in the nursery, Cassian studied Seraphine. This was never about me, he said slowly. You told yourself it was. You dressed it up as revenge, but the emails don't talk about my punishment. They talk about risk. They talk about a witness. They talk about a child who should have been gone years ago. He looked at her. You didn't come here to break me. You came here to erase her. Seraphine's mouth twisted. They'll never believe you. Maybe not. But I am done helping you by staying silent. That ends tonight. The sirens were still distant when Leo finally spoke through the upstairs intercom. Sir, you might want to know the police are en route. Seraphine spun toward the camera above the door. You called the police? No, Cassian said, but someone did. You think they'll protect you? She snapped. You think you can just confess and walk away? Oh, I'm sorry. I accidentally adopted a trafficked baby. You're finished. He nodded slowly. Yes, I probably am. Publicly, legally, financially. I'm prepared for that. Her laugh was sharp and disbelieving. You expect me to believe you're willing to lose everything? I expect you to understand that I'm done lying. You want to tell the world I adopted Valeria's baby? Fine. I'll tell them how the agency faked her death. I'll show them the emails where your family talks about pipelines and erasing evidence. You have nothing tying that to me, she hissed. He lifted his phone. I have this conversation, and I have employees who have heard every word. You're not as invisible as you think, Seraphine. Her eyes darted toward the door. For a second he thought she might run. Instead, she did something worse. She smiled. You think I'm the one you need to worry about? She asked softly. Do you really believe my family will let you stroll into a press conference and expose them? You've underestimated how far this goes. He swallowed. What do you mean? She took a step closer, voice dropping to a whisper. You are not in danger because of what happened. You are in danger because of what that little girl remembers. The word remembers echoed down the hallway. In the den, Skye looked up sharply. She couldn't hear the exact words, but something in the tone bled through the floor. Maribel? She whispered. Is it my fault? Maribel turned to her, startled. What, mi cielo? Is it my fault they're mad? Because I remember things? Because I draw things? I try not to. I don't want to cause trouble, but my head feels full and then the pictures come out. Maribel cupped her little face. No, nothing is your fault. Do you hear me? Nothing. Skye blinked, tears spilling. She said I was a problem. She said everyone was happier when they thought I was gone. Maribel's heart broke. Who said that? Skye's voice shrank. Seraphine. The sirens grew louder, blue and red flashes beginning to wash faintly across the nursery walls. Desperation cracked Seraphine's polished exterior. You don't understand what you're doing, she hissed. You think you're some hero choosing truth. You're not. You're lighting a match in a room full of gasoline. You already lit it when you climbed into my bed and into my daughter's life with those lies. She laughed bitterly. You think I wanted you. You were never the point. You were just the easiest doorway to the only person who can destroy us. Us? He repeated. You mean your family. The ones who planned to sell a baby and sabotage a car. The ones who hid behind my guilt and let the world blame my tech. He took a breath. You didn't come for Skye because you loved her, or because you wanted her back. You came because deep down you knew she saw something, heard something. That scream in her drawings, the one that says, you're not taking her, that was Valeria, and the woman she was shouting at. His eyes locked with hers. Was you? For the first time, true terror flickered across Seraphine's face. Stop. You were there that night, before the crash. You went to take the baby. Valeria tried to stop you. She got in that car to get away from you, not from my machines. And when it went off the road, when the story got pinned on my tech, your family saw an opportunity. They buried the mother, they declared the child dead. They built a pipeline on her grave. He stepped closer. And years later, when you found out the baby was alive and living in my house, you didn't feel relief. You felt panic. Because the only witness who could tie you to that night, even in broken memories, was playing with dolls in my nursery. Seraphine's voice came out shredded. You have no proof. Not yet, but I have a child whose drawings match accident details she was never told. I have emails about sabotage. I have your sudden decision to marry me after my adoption became public, and now, he held up his phone. I have your own words. Police cars flooded the driveway, lights strobing against the storm. Leo met the officers at the door, face haggard. Upstairs, East Wing Nursery. We have recordings. The whole system is yours. In the den, Maribel held Skye close as footsteps pounded overhead. Skye's drawing rested on the coffee table, the two women frozen on the page, one forever shouting, You're not taking her. It's loud, Skye mumbled. Sometimes loud means help, Maribel said softly. Remember that. In the nursery, officers stepped in just as Seraphine lunged for the envelope on the dresser. Seraphine Vale, step away from the desk. She whirled on them. You don't understand. She remembers. That child. She saw everything. She's not innocent. The words hung in the air like smoke. Cassian felt physically ill. Even now, even cornered, Seraphine couldn't see Skye as anything but a threat. Not a girl, not a human. A file, evidence. The officers moved in, firmly but carefully. "You have the right to remain silent," one began. Seraphine thrashed as they cuffed her. "You're protecting the wrong person. She will ruin you. She will ruin all of us. You should have let me fix it." Her voice cracked into a raw sound as they dragged her out. For a long moment, the room was filled only with Cassian's ragged breathing. Then a small voice spoke from the doorway. "Daddy?" He turned. Sky stood there, clutching Maribel's hand. Her eyes were wide, but dry. Steady. "Is she going to take me?" "No," Cassian said, crossing the room to kneel in front of her. "She is never going to take you. Not ever." Sky looked up at him. "I remember her. From before." His chest tightened. "What do you remember, Angel?" "She was at the car. My mama was shouting. She said, 'You're not taking her.' She was talking to Seraphine. She swallowed. I thought it was a dream. But it's not. It's real, right?" Cassian exhaled shakily. "Yes, it's real. And it's not your job to carry it anymore. That's my job. And the police's job. And the court's job. But not yours. Will they be mad I remember?" He pulled her into his arms. "They might. But I will be proud. Because you remembered the truth." The next days were a hurricane. Lawyers, detectives, reporters camped outside the gate. Cassian did something his board called suicidal. He asked for a live interview. He sat in front of cameras, hands folded, face drawn, and told the story he had spent years pretending he didn't know. The Gloucester crash, the rushed settlement, the adoption offer that came too fast, the agency that sealed records, the emails he'd uncovered, the woman he'd married under a Ioti fake name. He did not excuse himself. "I should have asked harder questions. I should have looked past my guilt and my desire to fix something fast. I failed that baby. I failed her biological mother, and I failed her again by bringing someone dangerous into her home." He did not name Sky on camera. He called her my daughter and the child we failed. He requested a formal investigation into the adoption agency and whatever families had collaborated in falsifying records. The internet exploded. Some people called him a monster trying to save face. Others called him brave. Conspiracy theories bloomed overnight. Opinion shows chewed on the story for days. But inside the house, something quiet was happening. Sky started sleeping through the night again. She laughed at breakfast. She asked Cassian if she could paint the nursery yellow. "Can we?" she asked. "Whatever color you want," he said. She smiled. "Yellow, like the sun." Weeks later, Cassian sat at the kitchen table with a thin envelope in his hand. The return address. A town in western Massachusetts. Valeria's parents. He had written to them through their lawyer, offering to meet, to answer questions, to give them every document he had, to let them see Sky, if and only if it was something they truly wanted, not something they felt pressured into. Maribel poured tea silently as he opened the letter. There was only one sentence inside, handwritten in shaky script. "We are not ready yet, but we are glad she is alive." Cassian swallowed. Maribel squeezed his shoulder. "This is something. For a heart that has been buried, a twitch is something." He nodded. "We'll wait, as long as it takes." Sky ran into the kitchen, socks sliding on the tile, waving a new drawing. "Look, I made our house again." This time, the house on the cliff had more windows, brighter ones. Stick figures stood outside. A tall man, a small girl, a woman with a bun and an apron, another woman with a headscarf, a man with a cap. Noor, Maribel, Elias. Leo, small in the corner, with a little speech bubble that said, "I'm sorry." And above it all, in the sky, a woman with wild hair and open arms. Sky had written, in careful letters, "My families," plural. 2 months after Seraphine's arrest, the federal case against the Vale family went public. The adoption agency had been a front. 23 children over 6 years. Babies taken from mothers who tried to run. Mothers who asked too many questions. Mothers who threatened to expose what the family business really was. Not humanitarian work, human trafficking disguised as private placements. Valeria had been working with a journalist when she died. She had proof. Documents, recordings. She was going to publish everything. The night of the crash, she wasn't running from Cassian's technology. She was running from her own sister. Seraphine had come to take the baby, to silence the last connection to Valeria's evidence. When Valeria refused, when she screamed, "You're not taking her," and drove away into the storm, the car had been remotely disabled. Not by faulty AI, by someone with access to the vehicle's override codes, someone who worked for the family. The crash was intentional. When investigators found Cassian's company logo on the car, the family saw their escape route. They buried Valeria, declared the baby dead. Let Cassian take the blame publicly while they disappeared into the background. But the baby survived. And when Sky's adoption made headlines 3 years later, someone in the family recognized the timeline, the age, the circumstances. They realized their mistake. Seraphine volunteered to fix it. Not out of love, out of fear. The trial lasted 4 months, Cassian testified. So did Maribel. So did Leo, who broke down on the stand admitting he'd helped Seraphine access files without understanding the full scope. Sky did not testify. Her drawings did, entered into evidence, analyzed by child psychologists, compared against accident scene photos and witness statements. The woman blocking the car door matched Seraphine's height and build. The words, "You're not taking her," matched what a neighbor claimed to have heard that night but was too afraid to report. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts, Seraphine was sentenced to 25 years. 3 members of the Vale family received life sentences. The adoption agency was dismantled. Children were reunited with families. Not all of them. Some had no one left to return to. Cassian quietly established a fund. Not for publicity, not for redemption, just because it needed to exist. 6 months after the trial, Cassian received another letter. Same return address. Western Massachusetts. This time the handwriting was steadier. "We would like to meet her, if she is willing, if you think it is safe." He sat with the letter for 3 days before showing it to Sky. She was in the yellow nursery, coloring at her desk. Sunlight poured through the windows. "Sky, can we talk for a minute?" She looked up. Crayon paused. "Am I in trouble?" "No. Never. I just want to ask you something important." He sat on the floor beside her chair. "Do you remember when I told you about your first mama? About Valeria?" Sky nodded slowly. "The one who shouted at Seraphine?" "Yes. Well, Valeria had parents, your grandparents, and they wrote me a letter. They want to meet you." Sky's eyes widened. "They do?" "Only if you want to. You don't have to. There's no pressure. But they said they'd like to know you." She was quiet for a long moment, crayon rolling between her fingers. "Will they take me away?" His chest tightened. "No. This is your home. I'm your dad. That doesn't change. But they're part of your story too. And if you want to know them, we can make that happen." "What if they don't like me?" "Then they're fools," he said softly. "But I don't think that'll happen." She looked down at her drawing. It was a garden, flowers everywhere, different colors. "Can Maribel come?" "Absolutely. And you? I'll be right there, the whole time." She took a deep breath. "Okay, I want to meet them." The meeting was arranged for a neutral location, a small park halfway between Manchester and their town. Cassian's lawyer was present but stayed in the parking lot. Maribel sat on a bench nearby, close enough to intervene if needed. Cassian held Sky's hand as they walked toward the picnic table where 2 people sat waiting. An older man with gray hair and tired eyes. A woman with Valeria's face, aged by grief. They stood when they saw Sky. For a moment, no one moved. Then the woman's hand went to her mouth. She has her eyes, she whispered. Cassian knelt beside Sky. These are Valeria's parents, your grandmother and grandfather. Sky looked up at them, small and uncertain. The grandmother took a slow step forward, then stopped as if afraid to get too close. Hello, sweetheart. My name is Elena. This is Robert. Sky's grip on Cassian's hand tightened. Hi. Elena's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled. You're so beautiful. You look just like your mama when she was little. I don't remember her face, Sky said quietly. Just her voice. Elena nodded, wiping her eyes. That's okay. We can show you pictures, if you want. Do you have pictures? So many pictures. Robert cleared his throat, voice rough. We're sorry we weren't there before. We didn't know you were alive. If we had known. It's not your fault, Cassian interjected gently. You were lied to. We all were. Elena looked at him, something complicated in her expression. You kept her safe. When we couldn't. When we didn't even know to try. Thank you. He nodded, throat tight. Sky tugged his sleeve. Can I show them my drawing? Of course. She pulled a folded paper from her pocket and walked it over to Elena, still cautious, but less afraid. Elena unfolded it. It was the garden. Flowers everywhere. At the top, in careful letters, for my families. Elena pressed the paper to her chest and wept. Robert put his arm around her shoulders, his own eyes wet. Sky looked back at Cassian, uncertain. Did I do something wrong? No, Angel, he said. Sometimes people cry because they're happy. She thought about that. Then she looked back at Elena. Do you want to sit down? Maribel brought cookies. Elena laughed through her tears. I would love that. Real quick, if you're feeling emotional right now, you're not alone. Thousands of people are watching this story unfold. Hit subscribe to join them and comment your country flag so we can see where everyone's watching from. I love seeing our global community. Now let's see what happens next. They visited twice a month after that, sometimes more. At first the meetings were short, careful, full of long pauses and nervous laughter. Now Sky ran to them the moment they arrived. She showed them every drawing, every scraped knee, every new word she learned. She called them Grandma and Grandpa. She still called Cassian Dad. Both were true. 1 year later, the mansion by the sea had changed, not in structure, in feeling. The walls didn't whisper anymore. The shadows didn't press. Staff moved freely, laughing in hallways that used to swallow sound. Sky's 8th birthday fell on a Saturday in June. 2 families came to celebrate. Cassian stood in the kitchen, watching through the window as Sky ran across the lawn with her grandfather. Elena sat at the patio table with Maribel looking at a photo album. Noor set up the cake. Elias hung streamers. Leo stood awkwardly by the grill, flipping burgers. You good? Noor asked, nudging Cassian's arm. Yeah, he said. Just thinking. About? How close I came to losing all of this. She was quiet for a moment. But you didn't. Only because Maribel called. No, Noor said, because you came home. You could have finished that presentation. You could have ignored the call. You didn't. He nodded slowly. Outside, Sky squealed as Robert lifted her onto his shoulders. Elena clapped, phone out, recording every second. Sky ran up to the patio, breathless. Dad, Grandma says Mama used to climb trees. Can I climb trees? Cassian raised an eyebrow. If you promise to be careful. I promise. She darted off toward the oak near the cliffside. Elena walked over, smiling. She's fearless. Like her mother, Cassian said. Elena's smile softened. Valeria would be proud. Of her. Of you. I don't know about that. I do, Elena said. You gave Sky what Valeria wanted most. Safety, truth, a chance to just be a kid. She paused. And you gave us our granddaughter back. That's not nothing. He swallowed hard. I'm sorry it took so long. I'm sorry I didn't ask the right questions sooner. You're asking them now, she said. That's what matters. Maribel called from the table. Cake time. Everyone gathered. Sky climbed down from the tree, grass-stained and grinning. Cassian lit 8 candles. They sang. She blew them out in one breath, eyes squeezed shut. What did you wish for? Robert asked. Can't tell, she said, or it won't come true. But later, when everyone had gone home and Sky was tucked into bed, she whispered it to Cassian. I wished that everyone stays. He kissed her forehead. We're not going anywhere. Promise? Promise. She smiled and closed her eyes. Cassian sat there for a long time, watching her breathe. Steady. Safe. Whole. The house creaked softly in the wind, not menacing, just old wood settling. Downstairs, Maribel hummed as she washed dishes. Noor's laugh echoed from the den where she and Elias argued over a card game. The ocean outside rumbled against the cliffs, constant and unshakable. This was the life he'd almost destroyed by not paying attention, by letting guilt make him careless, by trusting appearances over instincts. He would never make that mistake again. The legal battles weren't completely over. There were still depositions scheduled for next month, still journalists who called asking for comments, still people online who argued about whether Cassian was a victim or complicit. He'd stopped reading the comments months ago. What mattered was here, in this house, with this child who finally felt safe enough to wish for things. The fund he'd established had helped reunite 12 children with their biological families so far. 3 more cases were pending. The agency's records had revealed adoption fraud stretching back 15 years. Every week brought new discoveries, new victims, new families torn apart by people who saw babies as inventory. Cassian testified whenever they asked, handed over every document, cooperated with every investigation. Some people said he was trying to buy forgiveness. Maybe they were right, but it didn't change the fact that those children needed help, and he had the resources to provide it. The next morning, Sky bounded into his office while he was on a video call with his lawyers. Dad! Dad! Grandma Elena sent me something. He muted the call. What is it? She held up a small jewelry box. She said it was Mama's, from when she was little like me. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet with a tiny star charm. Sky's eyes were wide. Can I wear it? Of course you can. She handed it to him. He clasped it around her wrist. It was slightly too big, but she didn't care. Now I have something from both my families, she said. He smiled. Yes, you do. She hugged him tight, then ran back out to show Maribel. His lawyer's voice crackled through the speaker. Cassian, you still there? He unmuted. Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying? The prosecution wants to know if you'd be willing to provide an impact statement at the sentencing hearing for the agency director. He thought about it. Yes, I'll do it. It'll be public. Media will be there. I know. All right. I'll let them know. After the call ended, Cassian walked to the window. The Atlantic stretched out, gray and restless under cloudy skies. Somewhere out there, other families were living with secrets. Other children were drawing pictures they didn't understand. Other mothers were screaming warnings no one would hear. He couldn't save them all, but he could save the ones in front of him. He could tell the truth when it mattered. He could come home when someone called. That evening, Sky asked if she could invite her grandparents for dinner next weekend. Of course, Cassian said. Should we make it a regular thing? Like every weekend? If you want. She thought about it. Not every weekend, but a lot of weekends. Sounds perfect. She went back to her homework, the silver bracelet catching the light as she wrote. Maribel appeared in the doorway with coffee. She is doing well, she said quietly. Better than well, Cassian agreed. You did good, sir. We did good, he corrected. You're the one who called. You're the one who found the emails. You're the one who protected her when I was too blind to see. Maribel's eyes glistened. I only did what any decent person would do. No, he said. You did what a hero does. She waved him off, embarrassed, but he saw her smile as she left. That night, after Sky was asleep, Cassian sat on the back deck with a glass of whiskey he didn't drink. The stars were out. Thousands of them. He thought about Valeria, about her last moments in that car, knowing her sister had betrayed her, knowing she might not survive, but fighting anyway to protect her baby. He wondered if she could see Sky now, if somehow, wherever she was, she knew her daughter was safe. He hoped so. Thank you, he whispered into the night, for fighting. For her. The wind carried his words out over the water. Inside, the house glowed warm, real this time. Not the cold elegance Seraphine had imposed, but something lived in and loved. His phone buzzed, a text from Elena. Thank you for today. Robert and I can't stop smiling. She's everything we hoped she'd be. He texted back. She asks about you every day. You're part of her world now. Elena replied, and she's part of ours. Finally. He set the phone down and stared at the ocean. This wasn't the life he'd imagined when he adopted Sky 7 years ago. He'd thought it would be simpler, cleaner, a redemption story with a neat bow. Instead, it had been messy, complicated, full of mistakes and near disasters and moments where everything almost fell apart. But maybe that was okay. Maybe the messy stories were the real ones. The next week, Cassian attended the sentencing hearing for the adoption agency director. The courtroom was packed. Media in the back rows, families of victims in the front. When it was his turn to speak, he stood at the podium and looked directly at the director. You saw vulnerable people, he said. Mothers in crisis. Families in need. And instead of helping them, you exploited them. You turned their pain into profit. You separated children from the people who loved them and told everyone it was for their own good. His voice was steady. My daughter is one of 23 children you trafficked. She was supposed to be dead according to your records. Her biological family was told she burned in a car crash. They grieved an empty coffin while she was being placed with me under false pretenses. He paused. I'm not innocent in this. I should have asked harder questions. I should have demanded to see the real records. But you counted on people like me not asking. You counted on guilt and desperation, and the desire to do something good blinding us to what was actually happening. He leaned forward slightly. My daughter remembers things. Fragments. A woman shouting. A car. Fear. She's 7 years old and she carries trauma. You helped create. That's your legacy. Not the families you claimed to help, not the fees you collected. Just trauma. Just stolen childhoods. The director stared at the table, expression blank. I hope you spend every day of your sentence thinking about the children you hurt, Cassian said, because they'll spend the rest of their lives trying to heal from what you did. He stepped down. The judge sentenced the director to 18 years. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Mr. Holt, do you feel justice was served? Mr. Holt, have you spoken to other families affected? Mr. Holt, what's next for your daughter? He stopped at the microphone cluster. What's next is we move forward, he said. We heal. We build. We make sure this never happens to another family. That's what's next. Do you regret adopting your daughter? The question came from somewhere in the back. Cassian looked directly at the camera. I regret not protecting her better. I regret not seeing the danger I brought into our home. But I will never regret that she's my daughter. She's the best thing in my life. He walked away before they could ask more questions. At home, Sky was at the kitchen table doing homework with Maribel. How'd it go? Maribel asked. It's done, he said. Sky looked up. Did you tell them the truth? every word. She nodded, satisfied, and went back to her math problems. That night, Cassian helped her study for a spelling test. "What's the word?" he asked. "Family," she said. "Spell it." Family. "Good. Use it in a sentence." She thought for a moment. "My family is big now," she said, "because love makes it grow." His throat tightened. "That's perfect, Sky," she beamed. "Can we call Grandma Elena tomorrow? I want to tell her about my spelling test." "We can call her right now if you want." "Really?" "Really." She grabbed the phone and dialed from memory. Elena answered on the second ring. "Sky, how's my girl?" "Grandma, I learned how to spell family today." "Did you? That's wonderful. Can you spell it for me?" Sky carefully spelled it out over the phone, proud of each letter. Cassian listened from across the room, watching her animated face, her free hand gesturing as she talked. This was what normal looked like. This was what safe felt like. 3 months later, Leo approached Cassian in his office. "Sir, can we talk?" Cassian looked up from his laptop. "Of course." "Sit." Leo sat, hands clasped, clearly uncomfortable. "I've been thinking about what happened, about my part in it. You testified. You helped put them away." "That doesn't erase what I did," Leo said. "I gave her access. I pulled those files. I didn't ask enough questions." "Neither did I," Cassian said quietly. "But you weren't trained to see threats. I was. That was literally my job. And I failed." He met Cassian's eyes. "I'm resigning. Effective immediately." Cassian leaned back in his chair. "Is that what you want? Or is that what you think you deserve?" Leo blinked. "What's the difference?" "One is about moving forward. One is about punishing yourself." "I should be punished." "You were manipulated by someone who knew exactly how to play people," Cassian said. "She fooled me. She fooled the press. She fooled everyone. You're not uniquely guilty here." "I had access to security systems. I should have been more careful." "Yes. You should have. And now you will be. But running away doesn't fix anything." Leo was quiet. "I don't know if I can look at Sky without feeling sick about what almost happened." "Then don't look at what almost happened," Cassian said. "Look at what did happen. You called the police. You gave them the recordings. You testified against people who could have come after you. You helped save her. After I helped endanger her." "Both things are true," Cassian said. "You made a mistake, a serious one, and then you did everything in your power to fix it. That's what matters." Leo's jaw worked. "If you want me gone, I want you to stay," Cassian interrupted. "I want you to be better. I want you to learn from this. But I don't want you to leave." Leo exhaled shakily. "Why?" "Because Sky drew you in her picture of our family. Small, in the corner, with a speech bubble that says, 'I'm sorry.' She knows you made a mistake. And she forgave you. Maybe you should forgive yourself." Leo's eyes reddened. "I don't deserve that kid." "None of us do. But she's ours anyway." There was a long silence. Finally, Leo nodded. "Okay, I'll stay. But I'm doing things differently. New protocols, better training. I won't let something like this happen again." "Good," Cassian said. "That's all I ask." After Leo left, Cassian found Sky in the den watching cartoons. "Hey kiddo, can I sit with you?" "Sure." He sat beside her on the couch. "I talked to Leo today. Is he okay? He looks sad at my birthday. He feels bad about what happened with Seraphine." Sky nodded slowly. "He didn't know she was bad, right?" "Right. He made a mistake." "Everybody makes mistakes," Sky said. "That's what you told me." "That's true. So he can stay?" "Yes. He can stay." She smiled. "Good. I like Leo. He gives me piggyback rides." "I know he does." She turned back to the TV, content. Cassian stayed there beside her, watching colors flicker across the screen, listening to her occasional laugh at something funny. These were the moments he'd almost lost. These quiet afternoons, these simple conversations, this ordinary, beautiful life. The doorbell rang. Maribel answered. Voices in the hallway. A moment later, she appeared with a woman Cassian didn't recognize. "Sir, this is Ms. Chen. She's with the State Family Services Review Board." Cassian stood, immediately tense. "Is there a problem?" Ms. Chen smiled. "No problem. This is just a routine follow-up. Given the circumstances of the case, the state requires periodic check-ins to ensure placement stability." "Of course. What do you need?" "Just a brief conversation with you and with Sky. Separately, if that's all right." Cassian looked at Sky, who had turned around on the couch, watching with wide eyes. "It's okay, sweetheart. Ms. Chen just wants to talk. Like when you talked to the nice lady after the trial, remember?" Sky nodded. "Can Maribel stay with me?" "Absolutely," Ms. Chen said. "I just need to ask a few questions about how things are going." Cassian went first, answering questions about therapy sessions, school performance, family integration, emotional adjustment. "She's doing well," he said. "Better than I hoped. She has nightmares sometimes, but they're getting less frequent. She talks about them now instead of keeping them inside." "And her relationship with her biological grandparents?" "Strong. They visit regularly. She loves them." Ms. Chen made notes. "Any concerns from your end?" "Just making sure I don't mess this up again," Cassian said honestly. Ms. Chen looked up from her notes. "Mr. Holt, you were also a victim in this situation. You understand that, right?" "I was complicit through ignorance." "You were deceived by professionals who knew exactly what they were doing. That's not the same thing." He didn't argue. "How's she doing in school?" "Top of her class in reading. Struggles a bit with math, but we're working on it. Her teacher says she's social, kind, protective of younger kids." Ms. Chen smiled. "That's good to hear. And therapy?" "Twice a week. Dr. Morrison says she's processing things at a healthy pace. No red flags." "Good. Can I speak with Sky now?" "Of course." He called Sky over. Maribel joined them in Cassian's office. Ms. Chen knelt to Sky's level. "Hi, Sky. I'm Ms. Chen. I just want to ask you some questions about how you're feeling. There are no wrong answers, okay?" Sky nodded. "Do you feel safe in this house?" "Yes." "Do you ever feel scared?" "Sometimes. When I have bad dreams. But Dad comes when I call him." "That's good. Do you like living here?" "Yes, it's my home." "Do you see your grandparents, Elena and Robert?" Sky's face brightened. "Yes. They come for dinner a lot. Grandma teaches me how to bake. Grandpa tells funny stories about when Mama was little." "And that makes you happy?" "Very happy." Ms. Chen made notes. "If you could change anything about your life right now, what would it be?" Sky thought for a moment. "I wish Mama could see me. But Dad says she can. From heaven. So I guess I don't want to change anything." Ms. Chen's expression softened. "Thank you, Sky. You've been very helpful." After she finished, Cassian walked Ms. Chen to the door. "Everything looks good," she said. "I'll file my report. The state will likely close active monitoring within the next 6 months." "What does that mean?" "It means you're doing exactly what you should be doing. Keep it up." She handed him her card. "If anything changes, call me, but I don't expect it will." After she left, Cassian found Sky back on the couch. "Was that okay?" she asked. "You were perfect." "Will she come back?" "Maybe, but it's nothing to worry about. She just wants to make sure you're happy." "I am happy." "I know." She snuggled against him. "Dad?" "Yeah?" "When I'm grown up, can I help kids like me? Kids who need families?" His chest tightened. If that's what you want to do, absolutely. I think I want to. So nobody feels alone like I felt. You're going to change the world, kiddo. She giggled. That's silly. No, I mean it. That weekend, both families gathered for dinner. Elena and Robert, Maribel, Noor, Elias, Leo. The dining table was loud with conversation and laughter. Skye sat between Cassian and Elena, stealing bites from both their plates. Skye, Cassian said, use your own food. But yours tastes better. Elena laughed. She used to say the same thing to me when she was little. Who, Mama? Yes, Valeria was terrible about stealing food off other people's plates. Skye's eyes widened. Really? Really? Your grandfather used to hide his dessert. Robert chuckled. Didn't work. She always found it. Skye grinned. I'm like her. You are, Elena said softly. In the best ways. After dinner, the adults sat on the deck while Skye played in the yard with Elias, who was teaching her to kick a soccer ball. She's a different child than she was a year ago, Robert said quietly. Cassian watched her run across the grass, laughing. Yeah, she is. You did that, Robert said. You and everyone here. You gave her space to heal. We almost lost her. But you didn't. You fought for her when it mattered. Elena reached over and squeezed Cassian's hand. Valeria would want you to know something. He looked at her. What? She'd want you to know she's grateful for everything you've done, for keeping Skye safe, for giving her love, for bringing us back into her life. Cassian's throat closed. How do you know? Because I'm her mother, Elena said simply. And I know my daughter. She fought to protect Skye that night. She'd be glad someone else finished the job. He nodded, not trusting his voice. They sat in comfortable silence, watching Skye play. We'd like to do something, Robert said after a while. If you're comfortable with it. What's that? We'd like to create a trust fund for Skye. In Valeria's name. Not to take over or interfere. Just to make sure she always has something from her mother's side of the family. Cassian considered it. I think that's a wonderful idea. You're sure? Absolutely. Skye should know both sides of her story. The good parts and the hard parts. A trust from Valeria's family is part of that. Elena's eyes filled. Thank you. No, thank you. For giving us a chance. For not blaming me. You're her father, Robert said. In every way that matters. We see that. And we're grateful she has you. Later, after everyone left, Cassian tucked Skye into bed. Did you have fun tonight? The best fun. Can we do it every week? We'll try. Promise? Promise, she yawned. Dad? Yeah? I love you. I love you too, Skye, more than anything. She closed her eyes, already half asleep. He kissed her forehead and stood to leave. Dad? He turned back. I'm glad Maribel called you that night. His heart clenched. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. He closed the door softly behind him. Downstairs, Maribel was cleaning up the kitchen. Leave it, Cassian said. I'll finish. You have worked all day, sir. So have you. Go rest. She smiled, wiping her hands on a towel. She is happy now. That is all I wanted. Because of you. You saved her, Maribel. We saved her. All of us. After she left, Cassian stood at the sink, washing dishes, thinking about how different this moment was from a year ago. A year ago, this house had been full of lies, full of danger, full of fear hiding behind polite smiles. Now, it was full of truth, messy, complicated truth, but truth nonetheless. His phone rang, unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Hello? Mr. Holt? This is Detective Ramirez. We spoke during the investigation. I remember. What can I do for you? We've identified another child. From the agency's records, a boy, now 9 years old, placed with a family in Connecticut 5 years ago under similar circumstances. Cassian's grip tightened on the phone. Do the adoptive parents know? Not yet. We're reaching out to them tomorrow, but the biological mother has been located. She thought her son died in a house fire. Does she want him back? She wants to meet him. After that, it'll be up to everyone involved to figure out what's best. Why are you telling me this? Because you established that fund, and because you testified that you'd help other families navigate this. I'm taking you up on that offer. Cassian exhaled. What do you need? Advice, resources. Someone who's been through it. These parents are about to have their world turned upside down, just like yours was. Tell them they can call me, anytime. You're sure? Positive. Thank you, Mr. Holt. After the call ended, Cassian stood there, staring at nothing. 9 years old. Told his mother was dead. Living with strangers who thought they were doing something good. How many more were out there? How many more families torn apart by people who saw human beings as transactions? The next morning, Cassian called his lawyer. I want to expand the fund. Significantly. Not just financial support. Legal resources. Therapy. Mediation services for families trying to navigate reunification. That's going to be expensive. I know. Do it anyway. You're sure about this? Completely. All right. I'll draft the expansion papers. 2 days later, a couple from Connecticut called him. Their voices were shaky, confused, terrified. We adopted our son legally, the father said. We went through all the proper channels. We had no idea. I know, Cassian said. Neither did I. What do? You tell him the truth. Age-appropriate truth. You tell him his biological mother is alive and wants to meet him. You let him process, you get him a good therapist, and you let him decide what he wants. What if he wants to go back to her? Then you support that, because it's not about what you want. It's about what he needs. There was silence. How do we live with this? The mother asked, her voice breaking. How do we live knowing we took someone's child? The same way I do, Cassian said. You wake up every day and you do better. You tell the truth. You help fix what's broken, and you love that kid with everything you have, no matter what happens next. Does it get easier? Yes, but not quickly. Thank you for being honest. Call me any time. I mean that. That afternoon, Sky came home from school excited. Dad, we're doing a family tree project. Oh yeah? That sounds fun. Can you help me? Of course. They sat at the kitchen table with poster board and markers. So I put you here, Sky said, drawing a branch, and Maribel here, and Grandma Elena and Grandpa Robert here, and my first mama here in the sky. She drew carefully, tongue poking out in concentration. Where does Seraphine go? She asked suddenly. Cassian froze. You don't have to include her if you don't want to. Sky thought about it. She's part of my story. Even the bad parts are part of my story, right? Right. So I'll put her here, but in a different color, so people know she's different. She drew a small branch in gray, separate from the others. There. Now it's true. Cassian stared at the poster. This child. This wise, brave, impossible child. You're amazing, you know that? She grinned. I know. They worked on the project for another hour, adding names, drawing pictures, making it colorful and chaotic and perfect. When they finished, Sky held it up. Do you think my teacher will like it? I think she'll love it. Even though it's weird, with 2 families? It's not weird, it's real. And real is always better than perfect. She nodded, satisfied. Can we hang it on the fridge? Absolutely. He pinned it up with magnets. The colors and branches spread across the white surface, telling a story only they understood. That evening, Elena called. Cassian, I hope this isn't too forward, but Robert and I would like to take Sky for the weekend. Just the 3 of us. His first instinct was to say no, to keep her close, to never let her out of his sight again. But that wasn't healthy for either of them. What did you have in mind? There's a small cabin we used to take Valeria to when she was little, by a lake. Nothing fancy. We thought Sky might like to see it, to know where her mother spent her summers. Cassian's throat tightened. Let me ask her. He found Sky in the den. Hey, kiddo. Grandma Elena wants to know if you'd like to spend the weekend at a cabin with them, the place where your first mama used to go when she was little. Sky's eyes went wide. Really? Really, but only if you want to. Can you come? They want it to be just the three of you, but I'll be here when you get back. She bit her lip, thinking. Will you miss me? Terribly. Will you be okay without me? He smiled. I'll manage. But you have to call me every night before bed. Deal. She ran back to the phone. Grandma, I want to come. That Friday, Elena and Robert picked her up. She had a little backpack with clothes and her stuffed rabbit. You have your phone? Cassian asked for the third time. Yes, Dad. And you'll call if you need anything? Yes, Dad. And you'll listen to Grandma and Grandpa? Dad, I'll be fine. Elena laughed. We'll take good care of her. I know. I know, Elena said gently. It's hard to let go. He watched them drive away, Sky waving from the back window. The house felt too quiet without her. Maribel found him standing in the kitchen an hour later, staring at nothing. She will be safe, sir. I know. Then why do you look so worried? Because the last time I let someone take her somewhere, it was almost a disaster. Maribel squeezed his arm. Elena is not Seraphine. Robert is not dangerous. They are family, real family. You're right. I know you're right. Then breathe, and maybe use this time to rest. You have been carrying a lot. He nodded. That night, Sky called right before bed. Dad, we went fishing. I caught 2 fish. That's amazing. Did you eat them? No, we threw them back. Grandpa says we only keep what we need. That's a good rule. And Grandma showed me Mama's initials carved in a tree, from when she was 12. His chest ached. What did you think? I put my hand on it, and I felt like maybe she could feel it too. I bet she could. Dad? Yeah? I love you, but I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad you're there too, sweetheart. Have fun. I will. Good night. Good night, Sky. The weekend passed. Cassian worked. He read. He caught up on things he'd been putting off. But mostly he missed her. Sunday afternoon, Elena's car pulled into the driveway. Sky burst out before it even stopped moving, running to him. Dad! He caught her, lifting her up even though she was getting too big for it. How was it? The best! Grandma taught me to make pancakes and Grandpa taught me the names of birds and we saw a deer. Elena and Robert followed, both smiling. She was perfect, Elena said, an absolute joy. Thank you for taking her. Thank you for trusting us, Robert said. It means everything. After they left, Sky unpacked her bag, chattering non-stop about the weekend. And Grandma said next time we can stay longer. Can I go again? Of course. And she said I'm just like Mama was, curious about everything. You are. She paused, holding her rabbit. Dad, is it okay that I love them, even though I have you? He knelt in front of her. Sky, love doesn't divide. It multiplies. The more people you love, the more love there is. You loving them doesn't mean you love me less. Promise? Promise. She hugged him tight. Good. Because my heart is really big. I have room for everyone. I know you do. Monday morning, she went to school with her family tree poster. That afternoon, her teacher called. Mr. Holt, I wanted to let you know that Sky's presentation was remarkable. She explained her family structure with such maturity and clarity. Several students had questions and she handled them beautifully. I'm glad to hear that. She also asked if she could do an extra project about adoption and finding families. I told her I'd check with you first. Cassian smiled. Tell her yes, whatever she wants to do. She's a special kid, Mr. Holt. I know. Thank you. That evening, Sky worked on her extra project at the kitchen table. She drew pictures of different kinds of families. Families with 2 moms, families with 1 dad, families with grandparents, families with no blood relatives at all. At the top she wrote in careful letters, "Family is who loves you." Cassian watched from the doorway. This child who had been through so much, who had survived a crash and a conspiracy, and a woman who wanted her erased. This child who still believed in love, who still believed in family, who still believed in hope. She finished coloring and held it up. What do you think? I think it's perfect. Even this family? She pointed to one she'd drawn with question marks around it. I made this one for kids who don't have families yet, so they know they will someday. His throat closed, especially that one. She smiled and added more colors. 2 weeks later, Detective Ramirez called again. Mr. Holt, the Connecticut case went well. The boy met his biological mother. They're doing supervised visits. The adoptive parents are cooperating fully. That's good news. There's something else. We found documentation of 6 more children. Different states, different circumstances. But the same agency network? Cassian closed his eyes. 6 more. We're reaching out to all the families involved. Your fund has already helped 3 of them hire lawyers. I wanted you to know it's making a difference. Keep me updated. I will. After hanging up, Cassian sat in his office for a long time. 6 more children. 6 more families destroyed by greed. How many others were still buried in files somewhere? That night at dinner, Sky announced she'd been picked to read her family project at the school assembly. In front of everyone? Cassian asked. Yep, next Friday. Can you come? I wouldn't miss it. What about Grandma and Grandpa? I'll ask them. She bounced in her seat. This is going to be so cool. Friday came. The school auditorium was packed with parents and students. Cassian sat in the 3rd row with Elena and Robert. Maribel sat beside them, tissue already in her hand. When it was Sky's turn, she walked to the podium with her poster. She looked so small up there. But when she started speaking, her voice was steady. My name is Sky. I'm in 3rd grade. This is my family tree project. She held up the poster. Most kids have 1 family. I have 2. I have my dad, who adopted me when I was a baby. And I have my grandparents, who are my first mama's parents. She pointed to different branches. My first mama died before I could remember her, but my grandparents tell me about her. They say I'm like her. That makes me happy. She paused. Some people think it's weird to have 2 families, but I don't. I think it's lucky, because it means more people love me. She pointed to the gray branch. This person tried to hurt me. She's in jail now. I put her on my tree because she's part of my story. Even the bad parts are part of my story. Her voice got stronger. My teacher said family is about blood, but I don't think that's true. I think family is about who shows up, who protects you, who tells you the truth even when it's hard. She looked directly at Cassian. My dad came home when I needed him. My grandparents wanted to know me, even though it hurt to remember. Maribel called for help when things were scary. That's what family does. She held up her 2nd poster, the one with different family types. Some kids don't have families yet, but they will, because there are always people looking for someone to love. You just have to find each other. She stepped back from the podium. The auditorium was silent for a moment. Then applause. Thunderous applause. Parents stood. Teachers wiped their eyes. Students cheered. Sky beamed. After the assembly, parents came up to talk to Cassian. That was incredible. Your daughter is so mature. How did you help her process everything? He answered as best he could, but mostly he just watched Sky with Elena and Robert, showing them her classrooms, introducing them to her friends. This was what healing looked like. Not perfect, not linear, but real. On the drive home, Sky asked if she could invite her friend Maya over for a playdate. Maya doesn't have a mom, Sky said, just her dad and her grandma. I thought maybe she'd like to meet Maribel, because Maribel is kind of like an extra grandma. Cassian glanced at her in the rearview mirror. That's very thoughtful. Maya gets sad sometimes. I think she needs more people who love her. You're a good friend, Sky. I know what it's like to be sad. I don't want other kids to feel that way. That weekend, Maya came over. She was quiet at first, but Maribel won her over with cookies and stories. By the end of the afternoon, Maya was laughing, helping Maribel in the kitchen, asking questions about everything. Her father picked her up looking stunned. I haven't seen her this happy in months, thank you. Anytime, Cassian said. She's welcome here whenever. After they left, Sky asked, can Maya come every weekend? If her dad says yes, I think he will. She needs us. Maybe we need her too. Sky thought about that. Yeah, maybe. The next month, the fund helped reunite another child with their biological family. Then another. Then another. Each case was different. Some reunifications worked. Some didn't. Some families decided to stay with their adoptive parents but maintain contact with biological relatives. There was no one-size-fits-all solution, but there was healing. Slowly. Painfully. But real. Cassian testified at 2 more trials, gave interviews to 3 major news outlets, wrote an editorial about adoption fraud that went viral. Some people praised him, others called him a hypocrite. Some said he was trying to buy redemption. Maybe they were right, but the work still needed to be done. One evening, a woman showed up at his gate. Security called before letting her through. Sir, there's a woman here named Patricia Moreno. She says she needs to talk to you about her daughter. Send her up. Patricia was in her 40s, worn down by something heavy. She sat across from Cassian in his office, hands trembling. My daughter was adopted 7 years ago. I was told she died. Car accident. They showed me a death certificate. Cassian's stomach dropped. But she didn't die. No. I saw her picture in an article about your fund, about the children from that agency. She's alive, living in Oregon with a family who has no idea. Have you contacted the police? Yes, they're investigating, but it's going to take time. Months, maybe. And I don't have months. I need to see her. I need to know she's okay. Her voice broke. Please, you understand. You have a daughter. If someone told you she was dead and then you found out she wasn't, I understand. Can you help me? Cassian called his lawyer. They arranged for Patricia to meet with the adoptive family through a mediator. It took 3 weeks to coordinate. He didn't hear from Patricia for a month after that. Then she called. We met. My daughter Sophia. She's beautiful, healthy, happy. That's good. The family that raised her, they're good people. They had no idea. They're devastated but cooperating. What happens now? We're doing visits, supervised at first. Then we'll see. Sophia is confused. She doesn't remember me, but she's willing to try. Patricia's voice wavered. Thank you for answering the door, for listening, for helping. I'm glad it's working out. It's not working out. It's messy and hard, and we're all crying every night. But we're together. That's what matters. After she hung up, Cassian sat in his office, staring at the phone. Messy and hard and crying every night. But together. That was the best anyone could hope for. At dinner that night, Sky asked what was wrong. Nothing's wrong. You look sad. He smiled. Just thinking about someone I helped today. Did it make you happy? Yes and no. Happy because she got to see her daughter again. Sad because they lost so many years. Sky nodded slowly. Like me and Grandma and Grandpa. Yeah, like that. But we found each other. That's the good part. That's the good part, he agreed. She reached over and patted his hand. You're doing good things, Dad. I'm trying. That's all you can do. He looked at his 8-year-old daughter, speaking with the wisdom of someone much older. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just didn't notice. He laughed. Fair enough. 3 months later, the state officially closed monitoring on Sky's case. Ms. Chen delivered the news personally. You've created a stable, loving environment. Sky is thriving. There's no reason for continued oversight. So that's it? That's it. You're just a regular family now. After she left, Cassian told Sky. What does that mean? She asked. It means the state agrees that you belong here. That we're a real family. We were always a real family. I know, but now it's official. She shrugged. Okay, can I go play? Yeah, go ahead. She ran off like it was no big deal, because to her it wasn't. She'd known all along where she belonged. That weekend they threw a party. Both families, all the staff, even Leo, who brought his wife and kids. The house was loud and chaotic and full. Sky ran between groups telling stories, showing off her latest drawings, stealing cookies from the kitchen. Cassian watched from the deck, drink in hand. Noor joined him. You did it. Did what? Built something good out of something terrible. He shook his head. I just tried not to make things worse. That's more than most people do. Inside, Sky climbed onto a chair and clinked her glass with a spoon. Excuse me, I have an announcement. Everyone quieted down. I just want to say thank you to everyone for being my family, all of you, even the weird ones. Laughter rippled through the room. And I want to say thank you to my first mama, Valeria, because she fought to keep me safe. And she did. She really did. Elena's hand went to her heart. So thank you, all of you, for showing up. That's what families do. She raised her juice box. To families. Everyone raised their glasses. To families. Later, after everyone left, Cassian found Sky on the back deck, looking at the stars. Hey, you okay? Yeah, just thinking. About what? About how many kids are out there right now who don't have anybody. He sat beside her. A lot, unfortunately. When I grow up, I'm going to help them. All of them. That's a big job. I know, but somebody has to do it. Why you? She looked at him with those serious, ancient eyes. Because I know what it feels like to almost disappear. And I know what it feels like to be found. So I have to help other kids get found too. He pulled her close. You're going to change the world, Sky. Maybe. But first I have to finish 3rd grade. He laughed. Fair point. They sat there together, watching the stars come out one by one, the ocean crashing below, the house glowing warm behind them. This was enough. This moment. This child. This life they'd built from broken pieces. It was messy, it was complicated, it was scarred, but it was theirs, and it was good. A year passed, then another. Sky turned 10, then 11. The nightmares came less often. The therapist visits spread further apart. The fund helped 28 families, then 40, then 63. The adoption agency network was completely dismantled. 7 people went to prison. 18 children were reunited with biological families. 12 stayed with adoptive families but gained contact with relatives. 3 were still in legal limbo, cases too complicated to resolve quickly. Cassian testified at the last trial on a Tuesday in March. When he came home, Sky was at the kitchen table doing homework. How'd it go? It's over. All of them are in prison now. She nodded, not looking up from her math. Good. That simple. That final. For her, it was ancient history, something that happened to a different version of herself. She was focused on the present now, on friends and soccer practice and whether she'd make the honor roll. Normal kid problems. That's all he'd ever wanted for her. Elena called that evening. Robert and I have been talking. We'd like to establish a scholarship, in Valeria's name, for kids who've been through the foster system or adoption trauma. That's a beautiful idea. We were hoping you'd help us administer it. Of course. And we were hoping Sky might want to be involved someday, when she's older, if she's interested. I'll ask her. He found Sky in her room, reading. Grandma and Grandpa want to start a scholarship in your first mama's name, for kids who've been through hard things. They wondered if you'd want to help someday. She looked up from her book. Like interview kids? Help pick who gets the money? Something like that. Can I start now? You're 11. So, I know what it's like. I can help. He smiled. I'll tell them yes. She went back to her book, already planning. That summer, Sky went to sleepaway camp for the first time. Cassian drove her to the drop-off point, stomach tight with anxiety. You have your phone? Yes, Dad. And you'll call if you need anything? Dad, it's 2 weeks, I'll be fine. I know, She hugged him. I know, but I'm not a little kid anymore. I can do this. When did you get so grown up? Last Tuesday. He laughed despite himself. Okay, have fun. Be safe. Listen to the counselors. I will. Love you. Love you too. Watched her run off to join the other kids, backpack bouncing, already laughing with someone new. The drive home was quiet. The house felt empty without her. Maribel found him staring at old photos in the den. She will be back in 2 weeks. I know. Then why do you look like someone died? Because she's growing up, and I'm not ready. Maribel sat beside him. Nobody is ever ready, but she is ready. That is what matters. What if something happens? Then she will handle it, because you taught her how. He nodded, not quite convinced. 2 weeks later, Sky came home sunburned and exhausted and full of stories. I made 6 new friends and we built a fort, and I learned to kayak, and there was this girl, Madison, whose parents are divorced, and she was really sad. So I told her about my 2 families and she felt better. She barely stopped to breathe. And next year I want to be a counselor in training, can I? If you keep your grades up. Deal. She ran upstairs to unpack, leaving a trail of dirty laundry in her wake. Normal? Messy? Beautiful. That fall, Sky started middle school. She joined the debate team, made new friends, got her first B in science and cried about it until Cassian explained that B's were fine. But I always get A's. And now you got a B. The world didn't end? But what if, Sky, you're allowed to be imperfect. You're allowed to struggle. You're allowed to be a regular kid. She wiped her eyes. I don't want to disappoint you. That's literally impossible. You could bring home all F's and I'd still be proud of you. Really? Well, we'd have to talk about study habits, but yeah, really. She laughed through her tears. You're weird. I'm your dad. It's my job to be weird. In December, the scholarship fund gave its first awards. 3 kids, 3 different stories, all of them survivors of broken systems. Sky sat on the selection committee, the youngest member by decades. She asked questions the adults hadn't thought of. Do you have someone who makes you feel safe? What do you want to be when you grow up? If you could change one thing about your life, what would it be? Simple questions, but they cut to the heart of things. After the selections were made, one of the recipients asked to meet Sky. Her name was Carmen, 15, bounced through 6 foster homes before finding a stable placement at 13. Your grandma told me you've been through stuff too. Sky nodded. Yeah. Does it get better? Yes. But not all at once, little by little. How do you deal with the bad days? I draw. I talk to people who love me. I remember that feelings are temporary. Carmen smiled, just a little. Thanks. For what? For being honest. Adults always say everything's fine. It's nice to hear someone say it's hard but possible. After Carmen left, Elena hugged Sky. You're doing exactly what Valeria would have done. Helping people. Telling the truth. Sky leaned into the hug. I hope she's proud. She is. I know she is. Christmas that year was loud and chaotic. Both families gathered, plus Maya and her family, who had become regulars, plus 2 of the scholarship recipients who had nowhere else to go. The dining table overflowed. Laughter bounced off the walls. The tree lights twinkled. Sky orchestrated everything like a conductor, making sure everyone had enough food, enough attention, enough joy. Dad, can Carmen sit next to me? Of course. And can we do Secret Santa next year? Whatever you want. She grinned and ran off to organize something else. After dinner, everyone gathered in the living room. Robert suggested they each share something they were grateful for. When it was Sky's turn, she stood up. I'm grateful for second chances, for people who tell the truth even when it's scary, for families that come in all shapes, and for my dad, who came home when it mattered. She looked directly at Cassian. Thank you for choosing me every single day. He couldn't speak, just nodded. Later, after everyone left and Sky was asleep, Cassian sat on the deck alone. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Patricia, Sophia's mom. She wanted me to tell you Merry Christmas. And thank you. We're celebrating together this year. First time in 8 years. He smiled and typed back, Merry Christmas. I'm glad you're together. He sat there a while longer, thinking about all the families scattered across the country right now. Families torn apart by lies, families trying to rebuild, families learning to love people they'd been told were dead or lost or impossible to find. His phone buzzed again, this time a photo. Patricia and Sophia, both grinning in front of a Christmas tree. He saved the photo. Another piece of proof that broken things could be repaired. Not perfectly, but enough. In January, Cassian was offered a position on a national task force addressing adoption fraud. He accepted. The work was grueling. Meetings in Washington, testimonies before Congress, policy proposals, legal battles. But it mattered. Sky adapted. She video called him when he traveled, sent him pictures of her debate team victories, kept him updated on everything. Maya made honor roll. Carmen got accepted to her first-choice college. Maribel taught me how to make empanadas. Life continued, loud and messy and full. One evening in March, Sky asked if she could talk to him about something serious. They sat in his office, door closed. I've been thinking about Seraphine. His stomach tightened. Okay, I know she tried to hurt me. I know she's in prison. But I was wondering if I could write her a letter. Why? Because I want her to know I'm okay, that she didn't win, that I'm happy. He studied her carefully. Are you sure? Yeah. I don't want to see her or talk to her. Just let her know that I survived, that she failed. That's very mature. I'm almost 12. I'm practically an adult. He smiled. Practically. So can I? If that's what you need, yes. But I'll read it first. Deal. She wrote the letter that night. Short, direct. Dear Seraphine, I don't know if you'll read this. I don't know if you care. But I wanted you to know that I'm okay. I have a family. 2 families, actually. I have friends. I do well in school, I'm happy. You tried to make me disappear, you failed. I remember what happened. I remember my first mama shouting at you. I remember the car. I remember being scared, but I also remember my dad coming home. I remember Maribel calling for help. I remember people choosing to protect me instead of hurt me. You taught me that some people are broken in ways that make them dangerous, but other people taught me that most people are good, that love is stronger than hate, that truth wins eventually. I hope you think about that in prison. I hope you realize that you lost and I won, not because I'm better than you, but because I chose to heal instead of hurt. I'm not writing this for you. I'm writing this for me, so I can close this chapter and move forward. Goodbye forever. Sky Cassian read it twice. This is perfect. You think she'll read it? I don't know, but that's not why you're sending it, right? Right. I'm sending it because I need to. Then that's all that matters. He mailed it the next day. They never received a response. Sky didn't seem bothered. I said what I needed to say. That's enough. In April, Sky's school did a career day. Students were supposed to bring in someone to talk about their profession. Sky asked Elena, "Will you come talk about being a grandmother?" Elena laughed. "That's not really a career, sweetheart. But it's important. You help people heal. You love people who need it. That's a job." Elena's eyes filled. "I'd be honored." She came to the school and talked about loss and love and finding family in unexpected places. Half the class cried. The teacher gave Sky extra credit. That summer, Sky went back to camp. This time as a counselor in training. She called Cassian every few days, excited about the kids she was helping. "There's this girl, Emma, who reminds me of me. She's scared all the time. She doesn't trust anyone. But yesterday she laughed at one of my jokes, and I think that's progress." Sounds like progress to me. I told her my story, not all of it, but enough. I think it helped. You're going to be an amazing counselor when you're older. I know. He laughed. Confidence. I like it. When she came home in August, she was taller, more confident, more herself. I think I want to study social work in college, or maybe psychology, something where I can help kids. You have time to decide. I know, but it feels good to have a direction. That fall, Cassian received an award from a national children's advocacy organization. He almost declined, but Sky convinced him to accept. "You did good work, Dad. You should let people say thank you." So he went. He gave a speech. He accepted the plaque. But the part that mattered most was looking out at the audience and seeing Sky in the front row, beaming with pride. After the ceremony, reporters crowded around. "Mr. Holt, what would you say to other families facing similar situations?" He thought carefully. "I'd say tell the truth, no matter how hard it is, no matter how much it cost you, because lies destroy families and truth builds them. Even when the truth is messy and complicated, it's still better than hiding." "What about your daughter? How is she doing?" "She's thriving. She's strong. She's exactly who she's supposed to be." "Any regrets?" 1,000. But not about her. Never about her. On the drive home, Sky was quiet. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah. Just thinking about how different things could have been. If Maribel hadn't called, if you hadn't come home, if everyone hadn't told the truth. But they did. We did. I know. I'm just glad. Me too, kiddo. Me too." That night, Cassian found an old video on his phone. From 5 years ago. Sky at 7, nervous and small, asking if she was really allowed to stay. He watched it twice, tears streaming. That scared little girl was gone. In her place was someone fierce and kind and whole. He texted the video to Elena. She replied immediately. "Look at her now. Look at what you both built." He looked at the stairs, where Sky's room glowed with light. Music played softly. She was probably reading or drawing or texting her friends. Normal 12-year-old things. That's all he'd ever wanted for her. The next morning at breakfast, Sky announced she wanted to volunteer at a local youth center. "They help kids in foster care. I think I could be useful." "You're 12. Almost 13. And I have experience, more than most people." He couldn't argue with that. "Let me call them. See what's possible." By the end of the week, she had a volunteer position. 1 afternoon a week helping with homework and activities. She came home from her first day glowing. "Dad, there's this kid, Marcus. He's 9. He doesn't talk much, but I showed him my old drawings and he asked if he could draw with me." "What did you draw?" "Houses, safe houses, houses with lots of windows and doors you can open from the inside." "That's specific." He needed to draw it. I could tell. She grabbed an apple from the counter. "I think I'm going to like this." "I think you will too." Months passed. A year, then another. Sky turned 13, then 14. She grew taller than Maribel, started wearing makeup, got her first crush and her first heartbreak. Normal teenage milestones. The past was still there, always would be, but it didn't define her anymore. It was just part of her story, one chapter among many. On her 14th birthday, both families gathered again. The tradition had stuck. After cake, Sky stood up. "I want to say something." Everyone quieted. 14 years ago, I was born to a woman who loved me enough to fight for me. She died protecting me. That's my beginning. She looked at Elena and Robert. Then I was raised by a man who chose me even though he didn't have to, who came home when it mattered, who taught me that family is about showing up. She looked at Cassian, and I was welcomed by grandparents who lost their daughter but gained a granddaughter, who chose love over grief. Her voice steadied. I was protected by a woman who made a phone call that saved my life. She nodded at Maribel. And I was surrounded by people who told the truth, even when it was hard, who stood up even when it was scary, who chose me every single day. She raised her glass. So thank you, all of you, for giving me a life worth living. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Before we finish this incredible journey, I need to ask you something. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe. It tells YouTube to share stories like this with more people who need to hear them. And comment telling me, what's the most powerful moment in this story for you? I want to know what resonated. Now let's see how this all ends. After everyone left, Cassian found Sky on the back deck looking at the stars. He sat beside her. "You're going to be okay, you know." "I know." "Better than okay. You're going to do amazing things." "Maybe. Or maybe I'll just live a good life. That's enough too." He smiled. "Yeah, it is." They sat in comfortable silence, the ocean crashing below, the house glowing warm behind them. "Dad?" "Yeah?" "Thank you for coming home that night." His throat closed. "Thank you for being worth coming home to." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "We're good, right? Like we're going to be okay?" "We're going to be better than okay. We already are." She smiled. "Good." Above them, stars filled the sky, thousands of them. Tiny points of light in the darkness. The house behind them hummed with life. Maribel cleaning up. Noor checking locks. Elias turning off lights. The same routines, the same people, the same love. Nothing was perfect, but it was real. And real was always better than perfect. Cassian wrapped his arm around his daughter, this incredible human who'd survived so much and still chose hope. The ocean whispered against the rocks. The wind carried salt and possibilities. And in that moment, everything was exactly as it should be. When the maid called, he came home. When the child trembled, he listened. When the truth cracked open, he didn't turn away. And now, years later, they were both still standing, still healing, still choosing each other, not as rescuer and rescued, not as guilty and innocent, just as father and daughter, just as family, and that was everything.